bait right there. More Q screen work. So in this video we need to address a lot of problems. This thing has a good bit. One I'm kind of nervous about because I don't know what's wrong with it. The other one is the sunshade for this and the Q screen. Without the Q screen working, there's a lot of things you can't do in the vehicle. So the Q screen controls a lot of stuff like your door locks, your lights, and a lot of stuff like that. And you can't do anything when the screen doesn't work. So it's very common, and honestly, it's not that bad of a job to do. And as you can tell, I've done it many. I feel like I just did it on like 2 episodes ago, because I did. But there was even screws missing in this dash, so it was even less. But we're going to go a little bit more in depth because that cup holder there, well, first of all, that vent has like something on it right there, and it's like etched into the paint, and I would have to refinish that and repaint it and stuff to even make it look right. The parts car has the same exact vent, and it's the same exact color, so we're going to use the parts car one. The cup holders, the rubber things inside them, hold on a second. So the rubber pieces inside that cup holder that hold your drinks in place are like broken. They're popped out of the cup holders. Well, whenever mine was having a bunch of issues, I bought a used cup holder thing. And it's in really good condition. There's nothing wrong with it. So, and it's the right color. So this one's a little bit more in depth. To get in there, you got to tear the dash apart a little bit further, because at the end of this track where this cup holder goes, there's a bolt that goes down through it. So you gotta take the dash part even further to get this part out. But yeah, we're gonna throw this in, and everything like the cup holders and the cigarette tray inside this and stuff. It's all grimy in this one. I got a clean one right here, so I won't have to clean that. Instead of cleaning parts here on Unwrecked, we just replace them. Why clean it? So I got antifreeze in this thing, just topped it off, no leaks. We're good there. I thought I had a leak after I topped it off with coolant and I ran it. It was dripping. I was like, oh no. Well, I had rinsed that radiator out with the hose. So the fan kicked on from the AC and it was blowing the water that was in the radiator out. I checked and everything that was dripping out of it was clear, so it was just water. But it had me worried, I'll tell you that. So we're all good in the engine bay for now. I think we're good. It starts right up. It doesn't misfire. It seems to be really good. The sunshade, I'm going to steal out of the parts car now. It's tan, and this headliner is not tan, but this headliner is light gray. Or it might be tan. I don't know. But my recommendation, if you have one of these, is to open that shade and leave it open. Don't close it. Because it's a very well-known problem. They all do it. And the more you use it, the more likely it is to break. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to drop the headliner, pull that out, drop the headliner in the parts car, pull it out of the parts car, put it in this one, get it open, and we're just going to leave it there. And I'm going to recommend that to whoever buys this car to leave it open, because it will eventually break. Last but not least, and I don't know that we'll get it fixed in this episode, having no communication with ABS, power steering, traction control. I don't know. Let me hook the scanner up, because I had the scanner in it, and I'm not having any communication with certain modules, so we have codes. It had a bunch of codes besides that, and it had the check engine light and all this stuff. I cleared all that. We ran it for like 20 minutes. Nothing else came back except for the traction control, steering control, and stuff like that that we're not getting communication with. Alright, so we have 3 failures on the electronic brake control module. 1 for the restraint sensing, inflatable restraint airbags. I don't remember what that one was. 1 for a chassis control module, which might be the radio, and 1 for the parking assist control module. I'm thinking we either have a bad ground somewhere, or ground ripped off, or we just have fuses blown from the accident. So it's something I'm gonna have to look into, because I have no clue what's going on right now. But everything else cleared out fine. It's showing I have an engine control module code now, but I haven't. We'll wait until report's done and I'll pull it up. Okay, so here's my main codes. Lost connection with inflatable restraint sensing and diagnostic module. That's a history one. What's current? Current. Lost connection with active air grill shutter, which I'm not sure if I have it plugged in. It might not be plugged in. Steering column position control module calibrated not learned. That's lost connection with. There's a bunch of them lost connection, but the current ones lost connection with a steering wheel angle sensor module. Lost connection with electronic brake control module. A lot of these are history. So the current one is a fuel pump control module request mill illumination. Lost connection with active grill. Invalid data received from the body control module. Lost connection with device on LIN bus. So human machine interface control module, whatever that is. I think we need to go around. There's so many fuses on this thing. There's a fuse box by my knee here in the dash. There's a fuse box under the hood. There's a fuse box in the trunk. And I think we'll get into that later.
Wait till the end of the video, I said.
So I started digging into this, trying to figure this out. Didn't find any fuses up front. Got in the back and I thought, you know what? I'm going to tear this apart back here, because they replaced this quarter panel. And I know there's a couple modules in here. So, tore it apart. This thing was worse than mine. Even though this back plate is factory. You look in there, the sealant, they replaced the wheel well tub. I think that brace in between right there, this was replaced. There was a lot in here that was replaced. It must have been pretty bad. I'm seeing things like I didn't like they didn't have this clip on, so I put that clip on there. The strut that goes from here to there, if you notice, they didn't put it back. They didn't put the ball back that the strut attaches to, so they just did away with it. So it's just springs, which is fine. The strut just kind of like dampens it, makes it kind of nicer, but whatever. I'm not finding anything else wrong though in here, except for I don't believe that piece goes there. Maybe it does. I didn't know where these pieces came from, and I thought, no, that piece goes back. Why would they shoved it in here? I don't think it goes in there. I think this goes down there. See how there's one over there? It covers the vent. That's how this one's supposed to be. It's supposed to cover this vent, I think. But I kind of got it in there, but I kind of don't. Something like that. I don't remember. We're just going to put it in there like that for now. Anyways, I'm going to dig through this fuse box, see what I can see. I can't get to the one inside the door because of it being on the lift. But I'm just going to dig through this thing and see if I find anything. I'm not coming up with anything, and I was thinking, well, maybe they left the ground off over here or something, but unfortunately that's not the case. Depending on how bad this was, I might want to check this wiring harness. Remember how there's a big wiring harness that runs through here? If I can do it without breaking this trim piece. Remember what I did on that last one? So maybe I'll dig into this side and see what's going on there. So you guys know what I did. I messed with this thing for hours. Just racking my brain. I need to do something productive. So we're going to go ahead and put this screen in the stereo. So if I disconnect the battery and I reconnect the battery, I get connection to the power steering module. But then when I go to recalibrate the steering for the power steering module, I get nothing from the steering angle sensor or the clock spring. That's what I would guess that is. I don't know how to test the clock spring to see if it's bad or not, but after I do that, then I lose connection to the power steering module and I have nothing, and I can't reconnect to it after that. So pulled the steering wheel bag off the parts car, pulled it off this one. I don't know if I want to change to the steering angle sensor. Something's telling me that's not it. There's a reason why we're losing connection to these things. The brake module, the power steering module. I took these grounds off that were on the front. I thought maybe it was something I did. So I took those grounds off, cleaned the paint off on there, and then put those grounds back in. That'd mean nothing. Actually, it let me connect to the power steering module one time, and then it lost connection again. Alright, I messed around enough. Let's put this screen in, and then I'll work on these cup holders. Oh, and I also got this trim out of that car and cleaned it up, and no goo on there. It's pretty nice, so that's going to go in the car. Had to stop where I'm at because it's getting dark out, and I kind of wanted to show you guys something that I forgot to show you guys. So the parts car's wearing my old shoes for right now. They will be coming back off. That's just so it's mobile. I actually just had this thing running with the air conditioning running and stuff. I threw the radiator out of the other car in it and plugged the transmission lines in, and I just put water in it, and it's not gonna hurt anything. And it runs. But yes, my buddy powder coated these wheels for me. I mounted and balanced the tires myself. And then I also clear coated the center caps. So the center caps were satin black like the rest of the wheels, but they were painted satin black. All I had to do was scuff them with a Scotch-Brite pad, and then I just shot some clear coat on them. I put 2 coats of clear on them, and yeah, it looks pretty dang good. But yeah, just wanted to show you that since it's starting to get dark out. Maybe I'll get a better shot whenever it's daytime tomorrow. Back to this radio. Got the screen in, got the power hooked up. You make sure you take that plastic film off the inside of that touchscreen before you put it on. Now I do want to just like throw this in, but we're not ready to throw this in yet because we got to do these cup holders. But I need to clean these cup holders up because they're nasty. So let me wipe them down real quick, and then it's gonna be tomorrow. I'm gonna jump in here and start trying to tear that cup holder out. Now, being that I have one, I can look at this and see where all the bolt holes are and where most of the mounting places are. So hopefully it'll come out pretty painless. Alright, so since the last clip, it's been like a week, and I have been trying to diagnose that issue with the steering and brakes, and I've come short so far. Okay, I got a 1-month subscription to the all data on this, so I can see all the wiring schematics and stuff. Checked a bunch of fuses. I'm not getting signal from the steering angle sensor. Okay, so that's in where the clock spring's at. I did have it apart and tested the wires on there. I think I'm going to get back in there. I think I'm going to take the steering angle sensor off of the parts car and back on this one. I got an endoscope. The main ground for the power steering is on the back side of the motor, so you can see I have the padding out and stuff. I got back in there, checked the ground, and the ground seemed to be all right back there. So yeah, I was thinking this was a grounding issue. I don't know. We do have an oil leak, which is also on the back side of the engine, and the room there it sucks. Okay, there's no room. So I did order a different scope that I plug into my cell phone, and it has a mirror that you attach to it so you can see at an angle or see straight or whatever. So I might have to use that at some point so we can see exactly where the leak's coming from. There's a plate on the exhaust side over there, and it looks like that's probably where it's leaking, which might be as easy as putting an O-ring or a gasket in, or just putting some RTV on it and putting it back together. So definitely leak over there, the exhaust side, back side of the motor. You see how much room there is? They tucked this motor back against the firewall, so you have like this much room back behind the motor, and you can't see back there. So that ought to be fun. A blind repair, which might be why it's leaking now. Somebody might have already tried that and it's leaking. Another thing I don't really like, this problem that it's having was, I'm going to say, going on before the accident happened. So anyways, there's some electrical tape on these in some places that's not factory, like how it's wrapped around here and stuff. This gloom, it is deteriorating from the heat and everything. So it's off in a lot of places, and right here where it's off, there's a wire, there's a ground that they spliced into right there, and I can see bare wire, and I tested it, and it's a good ground. So somebody was splicing into the wires on this to test, and they didn't find the problem, and so that makes me a little bit more confident about it. But I think before we go ahead and continue in on that, I'm going to get the cup holders out. We're going to swap those over, get the Q system back in, get it all plugged in and everything. So that way I can at least do stuff with the car. I don't like the way the settings are set up with the automatic locks and this automatic seat position and all that stuff. It keeps pushing me forward. It sucks. So let's get that in and at least get something done on this. And maybe we'll do the headliner. I don't know yet. Here's another thing. I don't have the car running, I just have the main power on. Another thing that's telling me that I got a grounding issue. My lane assist, which is disabled, and my parking assist, which is disabled right now, the lights on them flicker. Like, mine stays steady in my car. They're either on when you have them turned on, or they're off when you have them turned off. This one is, I'm getting flickering. So that's telling me I got a grounding issue, and it's disconnecting me from everything that is on this network here, that's on that ground. Now, every ground in the engine bay I have checked, and just the grounding point. I haven't checked the wire itself, like where it goes to and stuff like that. But yeah, everything's working. This console is so much nicer. This is so much nicer. It works. So that's all in there. Yep, the light works. All of these pads are in, which are missing in the other one. It was real cruddy. Look at that. I do have to put this piece back in, but that needs to be cleaned before I go through with that. I'm not going to worry about putting this in yet, because I might have to tear things down to get to the root of this problem. I'm going to have to pull up all the grounds on the interior. I know there's one down by that door. There's one over there. There's one in the floor back here, which I really want to check that one because of the damage, you know, doing all the work over there. So I kind of want to really check that ground. It's near this pillar, but on the floor. Let me turn this off so you don't have to listen to that beeping. And there's one on this side. But like I said, I checked every one under the hood, and I'm just, it sucks. You know, so I know I want to get back into this clock spring. Now these, if you don't know how the clock spring is, it is hard. And I forget already since I've been in there. There's a very small hole in each side of the steering wheel. And I remember there's a plate and you got to stay tight there. Okay, I already dislodged this side. You can feel a steel plate in there when you get to it. And you got to get on the back side of that steel plate and then pry forward and push. I think I already, look at that, already got it. So then, the next really hard thing once you get in here is getting that out. And as you can see that, I really messed that up just trying to get it out. I had to use a 1/2-inch breaker bar to get that loose because they have Loctite on it. But anyways, the clock spring's back in behind that, and the angle sensor is part of the clock spring, but it actually unclips from the clock spring, and you have to put a new one in there, or I'm going to try to replace it. Does anybody know what this is? Like, this looks like a gambling chip. I don't know what it's worth. Country Club? I don't know. I just seen it in here. It was down in the console. So somebody was doing some gambling and lost a chip. It's probably only worth $1. Who knows? This is a vast improvement, boys. Just to have the new screen in, the unetched panel here for reference. Here's the old one. This is like etched into that paint. It's not going to come off. I don't know what it is. It might actually be paint, but it like dug into the black paint on there. So that's very nice. And then all of this, because it was really, well, let me find it. All of those rubber pieces, except for one, is knocked out of it. It's got coffee spilled in it. Everything was cruddy. Yeah, so that can be cleaned up, but those pieces are going to be missing. They're like molded to the plastic, so you can't even replace them.
Nothing changed.
So I need to keep pushing forward on this thing. Last thing I'm going to get done on this video is I need to do this sunroof shade. I can't even close it on this. It just wrinkles up, whatever. The parts car, that one's working fine. Like I said, it's tan. Don't think it's much different. We're just going to be throwing that in here, the color it is, and we're going to open it up. And my suggestion is to leave the sunroof open. The glass is tinted. It's not bad in the sunlight. I leave mine open all the time, and that is why, because I don't want to have to deal with replacing that shade. To buy a new shade, it's like $250 or something like that, and then it's probably just going to do it again. I'm starting to think maybe we're having a module problem, like the body control module or something. I'm getting good. I checked those switches where they're flickering. The four-way switch is barely working now. If I get in there and I mess with it for a while, I can sometimes get the four ways to work. Otherwise, but it lights up fine. It's just not getting the signal through. It's such, I don't know. It's got a crap connection, and like I said, them lights flashing. So I checked the connections on the parts car and come back to this one, and one of the wires that had power on that car is barely getting power. It was getting like 10 volts on that one. I'm getting like 1 on this one. So yeah, that'll make your LED flicker. And then the leak on the backside of the motor, boy, that I got this endoscope in there, and it's got a mirror, so I can look at it sideways, and I look in there, and it looks like there might be like an oil line connection back there. I can't tell. I just got a glimpse of it. But it's something up near the valve cover, like on the backside of the motor, and it's just, like I said, no room. But that is definitely one of the problems we're going to get fixed. I don't want to send it. It's a decent oil leak. It kind of drips as it runs. Not fast, but it drips. And I don't like that, especially with exhaust in that area. Turbos, I mean, that's kind of away from the turbo, but the exhaust is over there. I don't want this car catching fire. Alright, last but not least, we got to get this sunshade out of the parts car. No tools are needed to get this out. Nah, I think there might be a couple tools. Anyways, what you want to do is you want to get a hold of the headliner wherever you can, and then just rip on it. Okay, that didn't work like I thought it would. I thought since this headliner was already demolished that I'd be able to rip it down out, but that's not the case. It's pretty strong. Anyways, you got to take off everything that's attached to your headliner. These hooks, the sun visors. This thing probably just clips in. I don't know how. Just stick a knife up in it, pry it down. But yeah, and I think we need it rolled up. So let me put the power on this thing. Flawlessly. Alright, now rip on it. Oh, there we go. Okay, I can see ripping all these things out. The hooks are going to have these little doors here. You get something in there, pry them open. There's going to be screws underneath them. These are going to probably be underneath this thing. Get it out of the way. Pry this down out. There's probably going to be a couple screws in here. This is going to pry out, and the rest is the same hooks. Get all the hooks out, and honestly, how I rip down on this, you are going to have to do that to get it free after you get all that stuff out. Don't do it beforehand, because like right here, I already put a crinkle in it. You don't want to do that. This headliner's already ruined, so I wasn't worried about this was a lot easier than I give it credit for. I found videos on it, but they didn't really go into description that great. There's no motor in that. That's just a shade. The shade goes in these tracks right here and over there. So that pulls the shade open. And then there's a little screw on each side. I think we can do all of this by only dropping the back hooks and pulling the back of this down. I'm pretty sure we can do that. So on that car in the garage, we're going to do that. It might be beneficial, honestly, to pull the front hooks too, but I don't think we need to take the shades or nothing off. I think we can just, as long as it gets down far enough that I can get to those bolts, it should be pretty straightforward. Yeah. So also, we're gonna have to get that shade back, and it's stuck in this track, and I am hoping the track's not damaged, but we'll see once we get it apart. Also, the mice just obliterated this thing. They were even, look up on top of that headliner there. You see it? They were in the headliner chewing up the fabric and stuff. It's crazy. So here's the only way I can explain what happens. These things have springs that ride the outer edge of this. They come detached from the material that they're glued to. It's supposed to be folded over and glued inside of there. And it separates. And then this gets bunched up in the track. Either that or it pulls out of the end, one of the two. It pulls out of the end of this, and instead of retracting with this is pushing against it and bunching up. Yeah. Let's see what the color difference, let's see the color difference. There's a difference, but I honestly don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. There's 4 screws in it. I was wrong. I was only looking at these back ones. There's ones here too, and I did take those out on the other one, but I didn't realize they were part of the track. But now that we got that the whole way back, I ought to be able to clip this in on those hooks and hopefully get this thing back together. Another tip if you're doing this, I bolted it up in, went to close it, and it didn't close. Now there's a track inside it on here just to hold this. It's sitting on that, but once it leaves that track, oh my god, it broke. It's broken. Oh no. This little plastic piece right here is supposed to be attached and it broke off. That's what holds it in the track. That's no good. It might be without a shade on this one. I just take it off completely and then you don't have to worry about it. So thankfully, that piece comes off. That's what holds the metal track in place. This one's okay off of the old one. So I'm going, it was glued. They glued this one on the old one, which it didn't need to be glued. So that's going to go on there, and that fits in the track. So hopefully, yeah, because that's no good. So all you have to do is get a screwdriver in here on this, pry this back enough to unlatch it. Don't let, yes, do not let that metal track go anywhere. Put this one in and snap it in place like so. It's in there. And here's where I messed up when I put it in the first time. This little tab right here has to fit. There's a channel up there, and that has to go inside the channel. It was on the bottom of the channel, so when this came out, this wasn't lined up and it just hit. Oh my, let's try this again. Wish me luck. I'm pretty sure I got it this time. I fought and fought and fought with that thing. Ended up pulling the shade, just pulling it out a little bit, and it clicked up in. I felt it go up in, and then everything lined up. So I only have these 2 bolts to put in, and they're lined up. The tab's in the track like I said it was supposed to be. I watch YouTube videos. I'm like, I'm doing it the right way. Why is it not lining up? Because I had to pull the shade out a little bit. That's why. Color contrast actually isn't bad at all. But we're going to leave it open, because that's your best option with these. What a pain in the butt. So anyways, that's enough for today. I still have not figured out our electrical issue, so there's still a lot that needs to go on here. So if you like this video, smash that like button, consider subscribing. Drop me a comment. How you liking this one? I mean, besides me not being able to figure out something, how do you like it? Hit that dislike button if your mom likes when I leave my shades open. See you on the next episode of Unwrapped. Why? You're nothing now. I can't get off my camera.
Looks like he's crying.
The war whistle. And then Sheldon. Meow.
Aww.
Why has Big Boy got such a little meow?
Ah!
Way to go, hon. Good job.
Go back in there.
He wound that one up.
or something in it.
You look. He says, "You better hurry. You better hurry up."
Listen, this is like a concoction I got going on.
Stu, I can't even hear you anymore.
Sheldon, that's not even. Okay, come on.